Hi, I'm Randy Bilberry. Uh, Today I'm going to be talking about the uses and gratifications theory, and more specifically, a part of that theory, parasocial relationships, and how it affects people and how it could help me and other people even uh, in their futures when it comes to writing stories for either the big screen or small screen, or really just when you have a story that you want to tell with characters, how to make those people fall in love with the characters and keep them coming back for more. Dr. Glenn Sparks wrote about Elizabeth Peirce and Rebecca Rubin, who studied a lot about parasocial relationships. He wrote, media researchers Elizabeth Peirce and Rebecca Rubin refer to the feelings and attachments that people have towards media characters as parasocial relationships, like the crowds of people that flock to see these Avengers movies, to see Iron Man, and the relationship that they have with Iron Man and other characters in those movies. So when it comes to the uses and gratifications theory in media, it really just means if you look here, we have Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and if bottom psychological, second to bottom safety, and then when we get to that like middle tier going upwards, you hit like friendship, family, sexual intimacy, really just like relationships. Relationships are very important, and not everybody can really have the opportunity every single day to go out, hang out with friends all day, talk to them, hang out with your family all day. A lot of people might not have family or friends at all. So when it comes to like media and talking about parasocial relationships, those relationships are, bonds that people can form with characters either in TV, movies. You can be reading a book and just develop a very strong bond, almost real, with these characters that you're, experiencing their stories with. Robert Downey Jr. started playing Iron Man all the way back in 2008 in the very beginning of what we now call the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in the movie Iron Man. And since then, he has played Iron Man a total of, I believe it's 10 times, 9 as full feature length roles that he is in the entire movie for, and then once at the very end of a movie as a cameo to set up even more movies down the line that would star him and other people. And just recently, back in 2019, Avengers Endgame came out, and I went and saw Avengers Endgame 3 times in the theaters. I was there opening night, and then I was there a week after opening night, and then I think a week after that again. And at the end of Avengers Endgame, spoiler alert, Iron Man does end up dying. And over the past, was that 11 years that Robert Downey Jr. has played Iron Man, people have, whether they wanted to or not, developed a relationship with him as a character and wanted to see him succeed and not fail and survive into the future and basically just have a happy ever after ending. So when Iron Man ends up dying in Avengers Endgame, I remember very specifically, and online even, people were very upset. I walked out of the theater sad myself, but like all the little kids that were there and even some of the adults were like crying, and they're speechless that Iron Man, this character in person that they had grown to love over the past 11 years, finally, they're not going to see him anymore. And so the way I want to relate this back is, that wouldn't happen in just any old movie where, it's poorly written. You don't really care about any of the characters. None of the characters really give you anything to latch onto. So how is this going to help me? So my chosen profession after I graduate will be screenwriting. And, writing new screenplays, it can take a long time to write a full screenplay out and ship it off to like a studio that might not even take it. So using parasocial relationships, I think, can really help not just me but everybody who is a writer in their careers, because no studios are going to want to take your movie that you have this story that you've written, but none of the characters likable. Nobody's gonna want to come see this movie because nobody's gonna care about anything that's going on with the characters or what the characters want or need because they haven't established those relationships. So I think one way is to look at, how other writers have established these parasocial relationships, like Iron Man. Iron Man, throughout the entire, Marvel Cinematic Universe, he went from this rich boy that really didn't care about anybody. You saw him deal with alcoholism in Iron Man 2, all the way up until, Avengers Endgame, where he's sacrificing himself to save everybody. And, this guy who went from unlikable to just like your best friend, I think really shows how good writing can really force those relationships into people. Watching Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal at the beginning, it's like if you meet that guy, you're not going to want to hang out with them, but by the end, like, y'all are best friends. You don't want him to die just like anybody else. So I think looking at characters like that can really help, your own writing process, my writing process, on how to develop those relationships with people and show them, you should invest in these characters because, they'll make you happy, they'll make you sad, they'll act like a real friend, especially if you don't have a lot of real friends in real life anyway. And then the other major aspect I think parasocial relationships really benefit are getting people to come back to either sequels involving characters that they like Iron Man, 10 appearances, people kept coming back to see him. Obviously, Avengers Endgame was like one of the biggest movies ever. But not just that, seeing those characters they like, they might, if they like that character that much, they might even look for who wrote that story, like see your name, my name, anybody's name, like, oh, and then you have a new movie coming out, like, wow, he created a character that I fell in love with. I want to go check out what else this guy's making. He might have even more characters like that I could have, this bond with. So real quickly, I just noticed I'm a bit over time. Here's my references where I got all my research from. And then here's my contact information if you had any questions or anything of that nature. Thank you for listening to my presentation. Hope you have a good rest of your day or night or wherever you are. Thank you.